morning. We are going to enjoy some nature today with a special water yoga session. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Mariah. Every week I bring you new barre, yoga, Pilates, and meditation videos. So if you like those type of workouts, maybe go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today's workout is a little bit different. It's going to be in the water. And we're going to be utilizing the kickboard to actually create more challenge. So water yoga has a totally different type of challenge. We're not necessarily working as hard against gravity, but the resistance of the water can make it a little bit more challenging to wield the kickboard in and around. We're also going to use that kickboard to get into some deeper stretches while enjoying the peace that the water provides, as well as some of the instability, so that our stabilizing muscles, our sense of balance has to be really turned on, really kicking on for this workout. So let's go ahead and get started. Grab your kickboard and let's get to work.
We'll start with a centering meditation. So take a couple of moments to get settled in comfortably, really anywhere that you feel like you can be quiet and relaxed. I'm going to be seated on the steps of the pool. You might prefer to be lying down by the side, or just maybe even relaxing on a float if you have one. So giving yourself just a few moments to find that space that allows you to settle in and to find a place of physical stillness with your body. Using that to set the stage for a place of stillness within the mind. Feeling no movement except for the movement of your breath as it inflates your lungs. Feeling the body as it exhales, releasing, relaxing. Giving yourself permission to move away from being hypervigilant and thinking about the next thing you need to do. Finding a few moments to simply witness, to simply feel, experience. No other agenda. And from this calm space, starting to notice the environment around you. Sun in your skin. You're touching the water and noticing its temperature. Seeing if you can discern a breeze and what direction it comes from. Allowing yourself to feel as free as you can in today's practice. Inviting in a sense of playfulness as we attempt some poses that may feel new or strange. Rather than setting out with a sense of intent to overcome the poses or to prove your talent or your skill. Maybe see if we can get more from the experience, more value, more richness of being, by instead allowing ourselves to have fun. To laugh when things maybe don't go as planned. To take that as a sign that we are tapping into our creative potential. Creating new connections in the brain by trying something. Starting to deepen your inhales and exhales again, preparing the body for movement. Allow the eyes to flutter open gently. And now I invite you to join me for our physical asanas as we start to make our way into the water. Taking that kickboard with us. So we'll be using the kickboard for, alternatively, at sometimes today, a sense of balance and assistance, but actually sometimes it's actually going to provide some instability to make the movements a little bit more challenging. So we'll actually begin with the kickboard as more of a challenge tool, allowing that kickboard just to float next to us for a few moments as we open our practice with some half sun salutations. So taking our arms overhead on the inhale, shrugging shoulders down, feel the front of the body lengthen. Exhale, reaching back out towards that sky as we take your hands down to heart center. Gently floating the chest down towards the water. You can bend your knees if you need, but also keeping in mind that you may not be able to go as low and towards the water if you're bending your knees, because we don't necessarily want to go underneath the water, although you can if you like. And repeating that as we inhale, squeeze up. Taking your gaze with you towards the sky if that's comfortable, really feeling your feet rooting down into the bottom of the pool. The foot muscles become even more important in water yoga because we don't have a lot of gravity tethering us down. That's what makes some poses easier, but it actually makes staying grounded and rooted more challenging. So we have to pay even more attention to really lifting up in the arches of the feet, gripping with the toes, not a white knuckle grip, but almost like a suctioning up. If you picture that you had like a towel under your feet, you could almost scrunch that towel up with your toes a little bit. Very good. Taking a couple more just to come into our breath, and then we'll go right away into our warrior series. Perfect. So let's grab that kickboard and float it away. Let's give yourself a moment to chase it down. And that kickboard now is going to come underneath for a little bit of a challenge. So we're going to place that kickboard under the right foot. It may not be graceful getting it there. You're just going to kind of stomp it down. There you go. And then that back foot pivots at a 45-degree angle. So your back leg is straight. Your front knee is bent. And we're going to take it into our warrior one, which means that both hips are facing forward, shoulders are facing forward. So notice if that left shoulder kind of pulled back a little bit, and could you rotate it forward? If that's not quite possible, separate the feet a little bit more from left to right, and that might find a little bit more openness in those hips. Really pressing down actively into that kickboard, noticing how, even if you've done Warrior One a million times, how the addition of this tool changes the experience. So we get to stay open and in some ways humble to new experiences whenever we introduce a variation. The addition of the water plus kickboard can actually recreate and transform an experience that we maybe thought that we already knew in its most nuanced form. Fantastic. From here, taking the arms open into our warrior two, taking care that that front knee stays tracking out towards the outside of the body. So arms are just hovering about at the surface of the water, depending on how deep you are. Taking some nice deep ujjayi breaths where we take the air in through the nose. And feel it swirl about the throat on the exhale, out through the nose as well. Finding a couple more like that as we really settle into the nuances of these poses. At the same time, playing those little bits of movement that the water and the kickboard try to throw our way. So staying static here is actually the challenge. And sometimes in life, staying still can be the hardest challenge of all, with everything that gets thrown at us. So letting that metaphor maybe sink into our bones, sink into our heart, as we embody what it means to stay still and anchored in the midst of uncertainty. From here, taking it to our extended side angle. Now, depending on how deep you are in the water, you may only want to take your hand down to your front thigh. Otherwise, you could take the elbow down, top arm reaches up, or maybe even over, being careful not to drip water into your eyes. Really pivot away from that bottom thigh to lift the heart space up towards the sky. I love having the element of the sun and the water and the wind to really help me be present in a yoga practice. It's my favorite thing about water yoga. Continuing to breathe, continuing to rotate heart up towards the sky, lengthening the side of the body. If you'd like an additional little challenge here, maybe taking that bottom arm long as well, a little core strength here. Perfect. And then we'll come back to our warrior two as we transition into warrior one. So really lifting the heart space up and then back as we rainbow those arms back. Lifting, lifting, lifting in the heart. Be closing your eyes and absorbing the beautiful warmth of the sun as it invigorates and soothes and enlivens us. And then exhale back to that warrior two. We'll straighten the front leg. So both legs are now straight as we move into our triangle pose. So hips are centered out, are facing out to the side. They're the opposite of being centered or squared. So really pulling that back hip further behind you, hinging at that waist, reaching for whatever's available. Just trying to avoid the knee area, please. So below or above the knee. Perfect. Extending the arm all the way to the opposite wall of the pool if that feels nice. And then reverse triangle. So we continue to keep the legs straight, pulling the feet towards each other energetically as we flip and reverse that triangle. Let's rebend the front knee as we come into a warrior two, and then we're moving into our half moon. So we're gonna actually take flight with the back leg. So the back leg lifts off, carefully maintaining that front leg still on the kickboard, and then start to straighten, if it's possible, that standing leg as we reach that back heel, flexing the foot, kicking behind. Top hand reaches up to the sky. And you could always do this next to the side of the pool if you'd like to take that bottom hand out for a little bit of balance support. Totally fine. No need to get hyper competitive about this. Let's move this into a little bit of a back bend and quad stretch by bending that top knee in, holding that quad stretch, kicking back into the hand if possible. So good. If you fall out, just come right back into it. Chalk it up as evidence that you're learning something new and challenging your muscles in new ways, challenging your balance, challenging different muscles than you would challenge in a more of a gravity-based practice. And then let's see if we can revolve that half moon. So switching chest down towards the ground. Very good. Not necessarily reaching for the ground unless you're shallow enough or have long enough arms. And then really flexing that back foot, pulling and squeezing through the obliques to get that rotation. Fantastic. Let's right ourselves. Good. And let's go ahead and take it over to the other side. So switching that kickboard to the opposite foot. If it slid out, you might need to take a moment to go ahead and pop it back in on the other side. And we're starting with warrior one. So join me when you're ready. We're keeping hips forward, chest forward. The back foot pivots at a 45-degree angle. Front knee is bent. Back leg is straight. And again, we focus on staying still through all of this dynamic experience and interruptions that we encounter through the water and the resistance of the kickboard against that foot. Finding all the nuances of the muscles that have to wake up here. seeing if we can keep the breath steady and even in the midst of challenge. And it's time for our warrior two. So that back arm pulls out behind us. Palms are face down. We're just hovering the arms above the water as we extend the hips away from each other. So belly button's facing to the side, but notice that that front knee caved in a little bit. Send it out to the side, stretching from fingertip to fingertip. Continuing that Ujjayi breath in and out through the nose. And then let's move into that extended side angle. So either hand or elbow to the bottom thigh. Use that as a lever to really rotate, lifting that heart up towards the sky. Palm can come forward over the ear if that feels nice. Really sinking the back outside edge of that foot down into the ground. Go a little longer on the side of the body. And keeping a bend in that front knee, let's reverse that warrior. So front palm flips up towards the sky. It's like you're tracing a rainbow, so you're lifting up and then over, finding a little back bend here. Continue that deep, full breath, even if that feels almost a little clipped or compressed. See if we can breathe on through. And then we'll straighten back into our warrior two for a moment and go ahead and straighten the front leg as well, coming into our triangle. So hips are really stretching here, especially that top hip. You feel a nice little pull over the side of the waist as you pull the top hip back, bottom hip tucks under, maybe even extending fingertips towards opposite side of the pool. You can always have the edge of the pool close by, just in case you need that little balance support. Inner thighs are really having to track towards one another for this, especially with that kickboard under the front foot, making it a little uneven. And then let's reverse that triangle. So we lift the palm up, reaching back as you glide that back hand along the back leg. Coming back up, we're going to bend the front knee again as we prepare for our half moon. So we're going to float that back leg off of the ground as we start to straighten again into the standing leg, really picking up that top hip. So if you had the back of the pool right behind you, you would actually feel the wall of the pool on both the left and right side of the seat. You're flexing really hard into that back foot to help maintain your balance. Pulling belly in. Enjoying the sensation of not necessarily being perfect at something, because it means that you are improving and encountering new things. And let's see about revolving that half moon. So pivoting, that top hip comes down, belly button faces towards the water. And then seeing if we can squeeze and twist through the obliques to get a little bit of a rotation. As much as possible, we're still trying to create a straight standing leg. Use the belly to keep that back leg lifted and still as it wants to go today. Amazing. We're gonna unwind ourselves and go ahead and step off of that kickboard. Wonderful. From here, we're coming into chair pose, which is a lot easier in many respects under the water, so we're going to use it as a chance to open up into the chest. So we're actually going to take the kickboard behind us, and you have your choice depending on how tight you're feeling in the chest. You can either take it wide behind you, or you can take it narrow if you're wanting a little bit more opening for the chest. So we sink back into that chair pose, a little bit of core strength here to keep from tipping backwards into the water. And then we're lifting that heart. So just feeling that nice opening into the chest. Some deep breaths here. Seeing if you can scoot your hips further back behind you without tipping backwards into the water. You got it. And then let's release that. Go ahead and come on up. From here, we're moving into a fun plank series into the water. So I'm going to be moving into the middle step. So the height here does kind of matter. If you have steps, that's going to be ideal to find kind of a middle step. This doesn't work for you. You can always just do a plank on dry land as well. But if you have kind of some level changes in the edge of your pool or a ladder that you could kind of anchor your feet on, that would be a fun thing to try. So that kickboard comes wide underneath the hands, and hands go where they would normally go in a plank, which is underneath the shoulders. We're actively pressing that kickboard down, keep it down. We're tucking those toes, and if you have the option to slide your heels all the way onto the step behind you, it's going to feel maybe a little bit more secure. So taking a moment here just to kind of play with the plank itself, a whole new experience for our plank. It's less about staying up in our plank as it is about staying still. That's going to be the challenge, is just being anchored here. Returning to that deep ujjayi breath if we've lost it, letting it be that steady anchor in the midst of movement. And you're welcome to stay here or take a break, or if you'd like a little bit more work into the shoulders and lats, a little bit of an opening as well, try taking that kickboard forward to the surface of the water, and then using the strength of your shoulders and lats and stability of the core, pressing that kickboard back down underneath the shoulders. So just alternating here, letting it rise gently. You're resisting that return up to the surface of the water. And then it's a nice little bit of strength to press it back through. Again, emphasis is on keeping the hips still in your plank, not letting it get away from you. Inhaling as we allow that kickboard to come up to the surface of the water. And then we exhale as we press it back through, noticing that you can't just muscle through when you're moving through water. You have to be mindful of moving with the water, moving when it wants to, not necessarily in your own time. And let's do one more. Amazing. And only if you wanted a little extra balance challenge, try alternating lifting one leg and then the other. Maybe exploring any other little bits of movement that you think would be fun here. Seeing how a traditional plank ends up feeling so much different here under the water. Awesome. And then let's go ahead and just step out of that. We're going to be coming into, again, kind of more chest height water as we move into some back bending. So we're going to be doing it's like a variation of an upward and downward dog, but we won't be going under the water. So we're going to use the kickboard to kind of simulate and adjust where in a normal practice where the ground would be. So we're going to take that kickboard and let's have it just a couple feet from the wall. That way if we start to lose our balance, we can kind of use the wall as stability just in case we need it or want it. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. And then let's press that kickboard down through the water with our hands. As you lift the chest up, allow the hips to come forward. So all your weight is really pressing into this kickboard. Nice deep inhales as you roll the fronts of the shoulders back in space. And then exhale, it's going to take a little core strength here to pull those hips back as we essentially are in like a flat back fold over from barre. So it's not exactly down dog, but it is. We're putting a nice little bend in our hips. Perfect. And then let's go for that upward facing dog again. So we press that kickboard down, down, down. Again, if you need to press the front edge of the kickboard into the side of the pool, you certainly may. And then exhale, taking it back into that down dog or just kind of a forward fold. Pressing those hands firmly into the kickboard and kind of lifting in the armpit area to really elongate through that spine and kind of stretching the shoulders. Let's take a couple more. Exaggerating your Ujjayi breath here. Last one. Cool. So coming up, I have a really fun back bend option here. So it's a kind of a version of wheel pose. Now, I will say it gets your hair wet. So fair warning, I totally understand there are those days you don't want to get your hair wet. So if that's you today, just continue to play with these upward and downward facing dogs with the kickboard. Otherwise, I'm going to move so that my back is to the pool. I'm going to place that kickboard kind of between my shoulders and the edge of the pool. And then I'm going to walk my feet forward just enough so that I can reach back behind me, grab hold of the edges of the pool. And now that kickboard ends up being a support. It's a little flotation device for my head, which can feel really nice and supportive. Sometimes back bends can be a lot for the head. So this can be a nice way to really elongate into your back bend, but make it a little bit more comfortable on the neck so you can really release in that cervical spine. Relax and let go, but it is important that you're really pulling in the abdominals. The abdominals are working the whole time to help protect those back muscles. If your chest is tight, this can be a lot of feelings that you're experiencing in the chest and shoulders. So breathing into it, even if there's some discomfort, but keep pulling in with the belly so that we keep that back safe. And then just very carefully easing your way out by maybe bending your knees, releasing the hands from the wall, and then just righting yourself. Good. From here, we're going to move into lower body series. And again, I'm going to be standing in the middle step of the pool. So I want my leg to be about hip height, and I'm pretty short. So for me, that's going to be in the kind of the middle step. I'm going to take that kickboard to the edge of the pool. So it's going to serve as a little cushion now as I take outside leg and extend the toes up towards the ceiling. And I'm going to let that kickboard hang off the edge just a bit. That's going to come in handy for our next portion of this pose. And I want you to, of course, be really careful that if you're on a step, you're watching your balance. You can always have your kind of hands holding on to something. This is a little bit more advanced. So just make sure that you're staying safe. And then from here, I'm going to start to bend and rise with that standing leg. Now, I want to make sure to take the hips really far behind me. Although we're not bearing a lot of weight here, we don't necessarily need to put the pressure of the knee coming forward. We're going to bend deeper and get more into the hips, to releasing the hips if we take our bottom back to that step behind us. Good. So your hands can be out for balance and support, or you can just have them in front in the shape of a prayer. Perfect. Now, being very careful, you might want to watch this first. And again, you can hold on to the step for balance. I'm going to turn towards the side And then I'm going to start to turn all the way behind. So I can tilt forward if this is with my torso, if this is causing any stress in either the hip or the low back. And then I'm going to start to slowly drag my foot forward. And I can use my hands to assist. It doesn't have to be a pretty transition, but if you can, cool. Until the knee is coming into the water and that kickboard is now against the pool wall. So it may happen with or without the assistance of your hands. Either way, it's all good. We'll all end up in the same place. Just please be careful with your balance. So now that kickboard is serving as a cushion for my shin. That back leg is bent until I'm just really pressing into it. My hips are shifting back for a quad stretch. And then I can kind of play. I'm bending into that front knee, but I could also play with straightening the front leg to get more of a quad stretch for that back leg. So just play around with this, see what feels nice. I'm typically quite tight in my quads, and then my hip flexor. Everyone's hip flexors could always be stretched a little more. If it's available, you can place your hands behind you on that pool ledge, but make sure you're really pulling in your belly. That matters here to protect that back. Nice deep breaths here as we just let the thigh muscles go. Perfect. So again, being mindful of our balance, we're going to kind of drag that kickboard back up onto the surface, and the hands can help if they need to. We curl the toes, and this is going to be a strength challenge as we drag it back behind us. And then maybe those toes stayed anchored and the belly really lifts as we come into our warrior three. You can wiggle forward if it's more comfortable, or if it feels better to have that knee kind of touched down. Some of this is going to depend on how tall you are and how high in the water you are or are not. And if your steps don't really work for this, you can always do this one just completely, submerged in the water. That works too. Perfect. And then let's just kind of wiggle forward and release. You ready to take it to the other side? Perfect. So I'm going to spin around this time. And we'll start with that foot flexed. You want quite a bit of space between the edge of the pool and your standing leg. And remember, just a little bit of that kickboard coming forward is going to make it easier when we transition later into that next posture. Bend and rise. Again, hands can be on the steps. We'd rather be safe here. Really releasing into those hips. If it feels good to even stay down low for a little bit and just really sink into that hip, feel free. Wonderful. Now from here, we're going to start to slowly move and transition the body forward. And then the hands can help if they need, or maybe if we're lucky, we just kind of drag that kickboard forward until it's on the front edge of the pool, protecting the knee and shin, ankle, and start to bend into that front knee, dropping those hips back towards the kickboard until you're in a nice quad stretch, and maybe you even straighten that front knee, whatever feels best. Maybe hands come behind. Belly pulls in here though, so that we're not over exaggerating the arch in the back. That'll also help us get a little bit more of a straight line to stretch that hip. Wonderful. And then from there, we're going to try to see if we can drag that kickboard back as we move into our warrior three. Again, we can tip forward if that places too much stress on the hip or spine. And then lifting the belly, grounding the foot down into the earth, which is not necessarily a position we often get to try in our warrior three. So it actually helps us a little bit with our warrior three form by really making sure that those hips are squared and the foot is flexed. So you kind of want to take like a little mental snapshot of what the back leg feels like and where the hips are located right now. so that we can try to mimic that next time you're on dry land doing a warrior three. Wonderful. And then from there, we're just going to kind of face to the side again and shimmy out of it. Well, congratulations. It is time to move into the best yoga pose of all. That is our shavasana, and it is so lovely in the water. You really can do whatever you'd like here. I'm going to be positioning myself on kind of a head on the top step and then have the kickboard under my knees. If you have pool noodles, you could position them under kind of head, armpits, and knees, or you could even just lean back with a towel under your head against the side of the pool, or even lay down on the ground. But if you don't mind to get your hair wet, floating can be so luxurious. So giving yourself another minute or two to get situated. You need to put sunglasses on. If you did not have them on earlier, go ahead and do that. And start to shift from that space of concentration and deep focus as we now soften the mind, soften our attachment to changing our experience, or controlling or inputting our experience, to now be as passive as possible so that we can find the yin to the yang, the low to the high. And just simply feel. Taking the next few moments in silence, where instead of listening to my cues, you're really just listening to the cues of the water, sun, breeze. Starting to wiggle, twist. Allow the eyes to flutter back open, maybe coming upright if you are floating. Thank you so much for joining me in this time together. If you were really enjoying that shavasana, you're more than welcome and encouraged to go back into it. If you enjoyed this, I do have another water yoga workout that I invite you to check out. It's going to be a little bit more of a relaxing practice with a blend of balance challenge, so you can check that one out as well. Thank you so much. I hope you feel a little bit more relaxed. I hope your practice has been challenged in some really good and fun ways. Thank you so much. Namaste. If you're ready for more clarity, focus, and consistency in your workout routine, I invite you to check out the 7-Day Reset. 7-Day Reset is on-demand barre, yoga, Pilates, and Ballotone carefully curated into a balanced schedule of just 30 minutes a day, plus daily doses of spiritual renewal through mindful moments. And knowing that we're accompanying all this with mindful activities to help you learn to love yourself from the inside out, knows that we're going to instill that positive, lasting change to overwrite your healthy habits. While lifetime access to the videos and special bonuses will help you stay on track. Learn more at wealthybossmembers.com/reset.